Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Druk's Unboxing. Saturday night, it's time for Peril at the Palace. That is what the card is entitled. Live 7 o'clock on Supersport. It features a South African title fight, plus two South Africans, always exciting, Roarke Knapp and the Magic Man Ricardo Malajika in two separate international bouts that I think will be very competitive. If you would like to know more, stay tuned. There is a total of 5 fights on the bill. All the house fighters are from the Brian Mitchell Boxing Academy, so trainer Vusi Mtolo is going to work every fight on the card. So Vusi is going to be busy, but busy is always good in this economical climate. In the first fight of note, the South African title fight, we're going to see the return of Shavante Koopman. He's back after almost a year, bar a day or two, of sitting on the bench with an injury to his left elbow. He's defending his South African title against the 6-1-1 Jackson Kaptein from the Free State. Now, on paper, it looks like an easy fight for Koopman. He's faced by far the better opposition. But on the other hand, Jackson Kaptein, I saw him from ringside in his last bout. It's the only fight of him that I have seen. And he's got a good right hand on him. He knocked out Pikalani Kumalo in a fight where he was not favoured to win. So he can be dangerous with that right hand. But he hasn't fought the guys that Shavante Koopman has fought. Koopman has been in some tough fights, most notably Jacques Chikubu Muvud. That was a real war. And then we had Henrique Lando that also put a lot of pressure on him. In his last fight, he stopped Jamie Webb. There were also some things to overcome there. So Shavante Koopman, after Roarke Knapp and Brandon Tyser, is probably the third best junior middleweight in South Africa. He was my top prospect a year ago. And as I said, he's undefeated. And he's got the experience against a better opponents. He can box, he can brawl. Jackson Kaptein, from what I've seen of him, he looks like a sort of a steady pressure fighter, and he likes that big right hand. But on the other hand, we have a fact that Shavante Koopman is coming off a long layoff. We have a fact that he's facing an opponent that he's supposed to handle without too much trouble in Jackson Kaptein. And then there's a thing that Kaptein has got absolutely nothing to lose. He looks to be in great shape, as does Koopman. And he can just go for it. Nobody's expecting too much of him except maybe his own camp. But he's got absolutely nothing to lose. And somebody coming off a layoff and an injury against somebody who's got nothing to lose, that can be a dangerous thing because it can be hard for the A side to stay focused. But in the end, I think what's going to happen there is Shavante Koopman is just going to be too good for Jackson Kaptein. I think he might be dangerous for a round or two. But round 6, 7, I think Shavante would have figured him out, and he's going to start shipping too much punishment. So I expect Shavante Koopman to retain his South African title with a mid-round stoppage there. Now then we have Ricardo Malajika. Now we all know Malajika. He came in highly touted from the amateurs, and he's had an up and down sort of go of it in the pros. He lost the decision to Sabalo Ngebinyana, whom I think is a very underrated fighter in South Africa. He's a tough guy. And then he dropped another decision later on to Sikon Ngotole, who is now ranked by the WBC. I'm not quite sure what the ranking is. It's outside the top 10. But he is up against it because he's facing Adrian Lerasan from the Philippines. Now, Lerasan has got a record of 12 wins and 4 losses as opposed to the 10-2 mark of Malajika. But I've watched a bit of tape on Adrian Lerasan. He's ranked number 9 by the WBC. I announced him as number 10 at the press conference the other day. I've checked out the latest WBC rankings. He's number 9 in the WBC. And that's a big step up for Ricardo Malajika. If he can beat Adrian Lerasan, he will have resurrected his career and he will be in the mix. You never know what can go from there once you've got that rating in a major sanctioning body. But will he? That's the question. He can maybe, but will he? Now, Adrian Lerasan is not a smooth boxer. He's not somebody that you're ever going to mistake for Sugar Ray Leonard or something like that. He's not a quick, smooth boxer. He's not technically extremely sound, but he's a very aggressive fighter. His nickname is Wild Beast. And I'm going to try and leave a link here to one of his previous fights. He's won 5 in a row. 4 of his last fights were on knockouts in Thailand. And there's a fight he had against Pongsapong Panyakum. That's the link that I'm going to try and leave. If I'm not able to do it with my limited technical prowess, just look it up on YouTube. And Lerasan is not a guy that you go to war with. If you're going to stand there and exchange and slug with him like a Thai fighter did, you're going to eventually come off second, because he's got a very good chin. He can take a shot to the head. I'm not so sure about the body though, but he can definitely take a shot to the head. And although I don't think he's got one shot power, he keeps throwing those punches with bad intentions, and usually he overwhelms you. He's a southpaw to boot, so he fights with his right in front, and he likes doing the 1-2 and then finishing with a lead uppercut like that and coming around. So he throws punches with bad intentions. He seems to have good stamina, and he goes after his opponent. He doesn't give you time to think. Now, in his last loss 6 fights ago, he fought Dave Apollinario. Now we know Dave Apollinario, he's the IBO World Flyweight Champion. He won that title by knocking out Gideon Buthelezi there in East London inside a round. So Dave Apollinario is a world-class operator. He can fight, and Lerasan lost to him on points. Now in the Apollinario fight, you can see what you must do with Adrian Lerasan. You mustn't let him get on the inside or at mid-range. You must keep him on the outside, and for that you need a consistent hard jab, and you need to step around him, and he will run into an uppercut every so often. So that's what Apollinario did. He had a consistent jab, and he just stepped around him, and when Lerasan rushed in like that, he timed him with an uppercut, and he just straightened him up and stopped that continuous forward assault. Now Ricardo Malajika, we've seen different styles from him. In the beginning it was this very awkward switch hitting style, squaring up, then switch hitting again, and leading with power punches. Then he seemed to settle quite a bit more. In his last fight, I saw that here at Emperor's Palace. He's two wins now after his last loss to Sekon Motole, but he didn't have too much in front of him. He didn't really have guys who could push him, and he looked good in those wins. He settled more on one style, staying in one stance or the other. Now, I think against Lerasan, he can't afford to mess around against his opponent. He's going to have to establish a solid boxing style, no switch hitting and awkwardness, because Lerasan's going to rush him and he's going to make him go off balance if he does that. So Malajika has to do what Apollinario did. He's got to establish a hard, steady jab, and he's got to straighten Lerasan up as he comes in and keep him turning, and do that for 10 rounds. Now, I remember it was quite a while back when that's still, I think, Malajika's best win against Norby Mkhize, where each fighter visited the canvas a couple of times, and he ended up stopping Mkhize. And I think it's going to be like that, but as opposed to then, he's got to pick a style and he's got to stick with it. And I think with conventional boxing styles, what he must do against Adrian Lerasan. And the question is, can he do it? I think it's a very big step up for Ricardo Malajika, seeing where he is in his career. I would have preferred maybe if he had a rematch against Sabella Gavignana, but it is what it is. I spoke to Rodney Berman, and he said, and I told Rodney, I really don't think if Ricardo is going to make it against this Filipino. And he said, well, only thing that's going to save boxing in South Africa is competitive fights. There are guys in South Africa that are as good or better than Adrian Lerasan, and Rodney is not wrong there. That is true. We do have some very good junior bantamweights, and if Ricardo can't beat him, then what is the point? So Ricardo Malajika is in a sink or swim situation, and he's a very, very nice kid. He really trains very, very, very hard. I think he had a lot of trouble with transition from amateur to pro. And is he going to finally right the ship, fulfill his potential, and gate crash for world rankings on Saturday night? It's the one fight where I really don't know what's going to happen. It's hard to say. But I hope I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that Lerasan is going to overwhelm Malajika, and he's going to make him make mistakes and keep him off balance. I don't think Ricardo is going to be able to keep him at bay and step around him for 10 full rounds like Dave Apollinario did. If I'm Malajika, I'll try and hit Lerasan in the body while staying in that steady boxing mode. But I've seen Lerasan on tape, and he's a different kind of animal. I don't think Ricardo is going to nail him and take him out. We know Apollinario took Buthelezi out. He couldn't take out Lerasan, so I can't see Ricardo taking Lerasan out. So he's got to outbox him on points, and I struggle to see how he's going to keep that hard charge of Lerasan at bay for 10 full rounds. So I am thinking that Adrian Lerasan is, as the rounds go by, he's going to start to overwhelm Ricardo, and he's going to run home a points winner. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope Ricardo can get it right for 10 rounds here, because that's what he'll need to do, and then he can outpoint Adrian Lerasan. I just think the Filipino is a bit of a big bite for Ricardo at this stage. So I'm going to go with Adrian Lerasan. Sometimes I have to say what I think and not necessarily who I'm rooting for. And then we go to the main event, and that's Roarke Knapp, of course. And we know Roarke has had a very good 2022, reversed his only defeat against Andre Thijssen in an absolute war. Not Andre Thijssen, pardon me, Brandon Thijssen, of course, late Andre Thijssen son. And he had an absolute war there against Brandon Thijssen. I thought it's impressive. I'd like to see how a fighter can improve. And I think Roarke Knapp is an improved product. He can box as well as brawl a little bit. He's learned to adjust more. And then in his last fight, he had the dangerous Mexican Dante Jardon. Now, Jardon is sort of a stalking puncher who looks very easy technically, because technically he's no great fighter, but he's got a big punch and he's caused many an upset. And Roarke sent him down, and then he just outboxed him for the rest of the fight. Now, last time around, Roarke was a dead man walking at the way, and he could hardly speak. He was completely weight drained to make weight there for the Dante Jardon fight. Now, this time around, Roarke looks a lot better. He looked fine at the weigh-in. He only just made the weight after getting rid of his underwear, but he made the weight, and he looked a lot healthier to me. I got in a dietitian, and they didn't leave the weight so late. And I think Roarke is on his P's and Q's, but he's facing a very experienced opponent. You know, Roarke is 15-1-1, but he's facing Ahmed El Mousaoui, French Algerian, and he is a guy who's got a record of 34 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. Now, he only has 8 knockouts, so he's not a big puncher. So the thing that Roarke had to worry about with Jardon, he's not going to have to worry here. Instead of a dangerous opponent, Roarke now is faced with a difficult opponent in El Mousaoui. Because El Mousaoui is a very experienced guy. In his last fight, he lost a split decision to his countryman David Papu, and El Mousaoui is kind of an encounter, like an all-local thing like we had with Knapp and Thijssen, but he was on the wrong end of a split decision. And if you look at El Mousaoui's record, when he loses usually by a split decision or by a majority decision, or it's a draw. He doesn't lose by far, and he's never been knocked out. Now, he's got wins over former world titleists like Junior Witter and Carlos Molina on his record. He went the distance with Jeff Horn in Australia. So he's fought a real high-end quality opponent. He's had a better quality of opposition than Roarke, and he's a big step up. And even though he's not a puncher, he does knock guys down. He's got very quick hands and very quick feet, so he catches them unaware and they take a flash knockdown. So that's something that Roarke must look out for. He's got the height and the reach on Roarke. And as I've said, he is not a stalking puncher like Jardon was. He is a box and move kind of guy. He's not going to stand out in front of Roarke. He's not going to slug. He's a stick and mover. He uses his jab and he dances away, and his jab, and jab, right hand, and then the left hook downstairs. He throws ones, doubles, 2s and 3s. That's his style. So he's not going to sit there and slug with Roarke. He's going to stick and move and stick and move and stick and move. That's what I expect El Mousaoui to do. That's what he's good at. He's a very good, quick on his feet, technical boxer. So what do you do against a guy like that? So for Roarke, the most logical thing is you have to cut off a ring and you have to slow him down by banging away at the body. So that, I think, will be plan A for Roarke Knapp, to go and put the pressure on and not let El Mousaoui breathe. And Marco Luis, that's what the Roarke Knapp camp has told me, he's got to make El Mousaoui understand from the get-go that he's here in South Africa to lose and jump on him. And I agree, he mustn't get El Mousaoui settled into that smooth boxing rhythm that the Frenchman has. He's got to jump on him in an intelligent way, not get caught for a flash knockdown. I don't think Mousaoui has got the power to stop Roarke, but he's got to keep him from getting into a rhythm. So he's got to chase him, he's got to work the body, he's got to slow him down, because I think initially at least he's going to have a little bit of trouble catching him in the head. And then if that doesn't work, there's always a plan B. You can try and make Mousaoui come forward, because if you're a very quick fighter, the other thing you can do is you can time him. You can punch where you think he's going to be, or you can count him when you think he's going to punch. And that's another thing that Roarke can do. But Mousaoui, I think it's quite clear he'll use his experience to frustrate Roarke. He'll use his movement, he'll use his speed of hand and foot. So this is another fighter that poses a threat for Roarke Knapp. And we'll see if he can get past this one, because if he gets past Mousaoui, it's a kind of fighter that can maybe get you a top 10, maybe top 12, 15 ranking in one of the major sanctioning bodies, and then it's upwards and onwards from there. Is he going to do it? I think Roarke is going to prevail. I'm picking him to win this fight. I don't think he's going to stop Mousaoui. He's never been stopped, and he's been in with some big operators. But I think Roarke is going to have enough success to win a close decision. I think he's going to have trouble with Mousaoui. I think he's going to have to reset. He's going to have to pressure. He's going to have to lure him into counters. And I think Mousaoui will have his success. He will make Roarke set and reset. But in the end, I think it's going to be another close fight. And as we know of Mousaoui, his pattern is he's on the wrong side of close decisions, because judges like aggression. So I'm going with Roarke Knapp to win a close fight, perhaps a 2-3 point fight. I think he's going to have to struggle, but I think it's not necessarily going to be a usual thing that we're used to from Roarke Knapp, this all action affair. I think it's going to be more technical, because I don't think that Mousaoui will allow him to fight the fight that he wants to fight. But I do think the strength and the explosiveness of Roarke Knapp will prevail enough to shade enough rounds to get him to a decision win, and I think it will be a good learning experience for him. So that is what I think about Saturday night's boxing. Guys, please tell me in the comment section, what do you think? Am I being a bit harsh on Ricardo Malajika? Who do you think wins, Malajika or a Filipino, Adrian Lerasan? Is Roarke Knapp going to receive a boxing lesson against Ahmed or Mousaoui, or is he going to prevail and be the first man to stop Mousaoui, or do you think he's going to have his battles like I'm thinking? So tell me what you think. If you've liked the content, please punch that like button, give us a thumbs up, and please smash the subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And until we see each other again, remember to keep